last month, damage caused by inmates at the Ottawa County Jail has cost taxpayers into the thousands. I'm Zach Dodge with what officials are trying to do about it. Coming up.
Pitt State rescinds its mask mandate to match new CDC guidance. How a medical school being built in Joplin after the tornado inspired some local residents to serve the community.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Jail damage at the Ottawa County, Oklahoma jail is adding up to a lot of expense. This is KOAM News at 6. The Ottawa County Sheriff says over the last month, inmates at the jail have caused tens of thousands of dollars in damage. KOAM's Zach Dodge has why it might be happening and what officials are trying to do about it.
It started with a jail riot.
They broke a bunch of windows, pipes out of the ceiling to make weapons out of. They're sinking stuff to make shields out of.
Then a fire in the ceiling of a holding cell.
And it wasn't even really a fire. It was starting to be, but the smoke got everybody's attention.
And most recently, a source of contraband was discovered.
They went from the shower through the gap in the wall into our boiler room and was trying to escape.
It's been one thing after another over the last month, and the cost is getting up there.
The riot with a busted windows and the ceiling, that's going to cost probably about $10,000.
The ceiling where the fire was started is being repaired by county employees, so that won't come out of the sheriff's budget. And Dean says they're working on solutions so they can prevent more from happening.
We're getting new camera systems, new lighting, so we can maybe stop some of these drops that's coming around. Took out some of their phones.
More jailers have just been hired as well, but there's around 100 inmates in the jail and 3 jailers on per shift. So this coming fiscal year, he hopes to add enough jailers to have 4 per shift, so if something does happen, someone can keep an eye on the jail while others respond. Commissioner Earls tells us that should be able to happen.
I mean, we've only been here 4 months, so we're still trying to fight the fires from before. And we'll get it fixed. It's going to take time, and sooner or later, everything's just going to be running smooth again.
In Ottawa County, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Commissioner Earls also tells us that a large part of the county's $907,000 in COVID relief funding will go to the jail to replace the roof. That should happen this summer. The Grand River Dam Authority police released the name of a man whose body was found in Elk River on Sunday. Authorities say the body is that of 39-year-old Ryan Tudor of Grove. On Sunday, Tudor's body was recovered from the river near the Oklahoma-Missouri line. Police have not released further details. Checking in with Nick Kelly. More rain out there, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely, Dal, and it's quite heavy in some spots, especially out in southeastern Kansas. Right along US 59, from Garnett to Iola, Chanute to Humboldt, let's say Erie, St. Paul, down to Independence and Bartlesville. That's where moderate to heavy rainfall, even a couple of rumbles of thunder have been popping up. But a little closer to Pittsburgh and Joplin, we are seeing a complex of rain continue to work from south to north. It's just light rain with maybe a couple of heavier pockets close to downstream Casino. Overall, though, everyone's mostly cloudy with the scattered rain and even a couple of thunderstorm chances continuing this evening as our main upper-level low is still spinning out across the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. As far as temperatures go, certainly cooler compared to yesterday. We're in the lower 70s now. A few upper 60s are already trying to pop up, but eventually everyone's in the upper 60s by 8 o'clock. Overnight lows now you can see dropping back into the mid-60s. We'll see if hopefully we can dry out a little bit for the weekend coming up here in a bit.
All right, we'll catch you then. Thanks, Nick. Mark McCloskey, the St. Louis lawyer who gained national attention after he and his wife waved guns at protesters marching near their home last summer, says he's running for U.S. Senate in 2022. McCloskey, a Republican, seeks to fill the seat of incumbent Roy Blunt, who announced he will not seek re-election. In the primaries, he'll be up against former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens and current Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt. Pittsburgh State today announced it's rescinding the face mask mandate at the campus for fully vaccinated people. Unvaccinated or partially vaccinated people are still encouraged to wear masks. The university is also further relaxing occupancy limits in facilities and asking employees to return to on-campus work by June 13th. Joplin Parks and Rec says it will not return to full normal pool operations this summer, but not because of COVID-19. It's because of lifeguard staffing issues. Officials say the Schifferdecker Aquatic Center will be the only pool open to the public starting on May 29th. Ewart and Cunningham Aquatic Centers will be open only to host certain programs. The department says they have fewer than half of the 90 lifeguards that would be needed to fully open all 3 pools. Coming up, after the Joplin tornado, 2 residents were motivated by what they saw that tragic day to pursue a career in medicine. Plus, a look at the tornado safety changes Joplin schools have implemented in the past 10 years.
Oklahoma.
Kansas City University Joplin is Joplin's first medical school. It's something positive that emerged from one of the most tragic days in the city's history. Not only did that day change the town forever, KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky tells us how it inspired 2 completely different people to want to serve the people of Joplin. We want viewers to know this story contains a description of an injury sustained during the tornado.
After the tornado sirens went off, a friend of mine texted me and said, hey, you need to know, St. John's Hospital has a direct hit from the tornado, and it's pretty bad. And so I was the medical director of the emergency department, and I knew that they were going to need medical help, doctors, nurses, techs.
Dr. Kenneth Stewart remembers the very moment his medical career changed. He tried to make his way toward what was then St. John's Hospital, but debris had traffic on I-44 at a standstill.
So I put on my flashers and I drove down the shoulder of the highway. I figured I could get to St. John's Hospital by going the back roads.
After going as far as he could by car, he stumbled upon Wildwood Baptist Church.
And all of a sudden I hear this voice. It says, Dr. Stewart. And I looked up and it's the youth pastor of Wildwood Baptist Church. And I said, Lou, can we use your church as a triage area?
His first patient was a woman carried in on a door.
She was unconscious and she had an impaled piece of 2x4 in her pelvis.
Soon, others arrived to help.
It just seemed like no time at all, and I heard this helicopter crew approaching, and they also recognized me from the hospital. And I said, she's got to go to the operating room right away or she's going to bleed to death.
The woman was flown to Springfield and survived. Dr. Stewart continued to treat people until the sun came up.
And so I probably stayed there till about 9 o'clock that morning, and then just exhausted. And the sun had come up, and it was the first time I was actually able to see the extent of the tornado damage, and it just boggled my mind. I couldn't recognize anything. As I was driving home, that's when I saw the devastation at St. John's Hospital for the first time.
While Dr. Stewart was treating people, so were Dr. Jim Risco and his 16-year-old son, Tanner. Even as a 16-year-old, Tanner was able to help.
A couple of nurses were driving by in a truck, and I hopped in the back of the truck with them, and we kind of meandered our way through the wreckage all the way to Memorial Hall, where we had set up a medical triage center.
He and his father worked for days on end.
That night into the next day, Dad and I came back home maybe 48 to 72 hours after the tornado initially hit.
Instead of deterring Tanner from a career in medicine, he was more determined than ever.
That night, everyone really came together, and within the next days, weeks, and months and years, our town rebuilt and grew back even stronger. And seeing the effects of that night and feeling, in a lot of ways, hopeless, I think that was a big part of my growing up, and kind of has directed my path moving forward.
Eventually, Memorial Hall was closed as a triage center. What was then St. John's opened again to treat patients in tents, then trailers, and eventually a prefabricated building that is now home to Kansas City University Joplin. Dr. Stewart is now a teacher at KCU, and one of his students is set to become Dr. Risco, Joplin's very own KCU graduate in 2022.
Following training, I hope to return here around the area to be able to practice. This is my hometown. It's a great place to raise a family.
In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Now, almost 10 years after the tornado hit, KCU Joplin held a graduation ceremony for their first class of doctors, with many others choosing to stay in Joplin. After several Joplin school buildings were destroyed 10 years ago in the tornado, the school district looked for ways to make schools safer for students and staff. Some of that came down to how they were rebuilt, and some came from changes in procedures. One of those procedural changes was no longer having students go into hallways during a possible tornado, because the hallways can act like wind tunnels in strong winds.
And going through the hallways, it was just too much tremendous opportunity for debris and things falling and things coming from the outside into the school. We found things from the outside inside the school hallways.
Now Joplin schools have safe rooms where students and faculty can go during severe storms. Some of the best healing from the Joplin tornado came from Louie and Jackson, two comfort dogs at Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Those two brothers, those dogs, recently passed away. Tomorrow on KOAM News at 10, we're going to look back on the church's comfort ministry and hear about the ministry's future. Later, some survivors from the 1921 Tulsa race massacre testified before Congress to discuss possible legal remedies and compensation.
Plus, I'm tracking rain chances that'll be around for the evening, but what about this weekend? Forecast up next. Another day, another round of rain and thunderstorms that we're keeping an eye on, especially as the afternoon got underway. We did have a couple of scattered showers, maybe a couple of little thunderstorms early this morning. Most of us a break around lunchtime, but then the thunderstorms and rain chances started to fill back in, especially as we got the afternoon underway. So far, over the past 24 hours or so, 0.2 of an inch of rain on average, but you see how the bullseye with this latest round of rain stretching across Allen, Neosho, and Lebec counties, where these are areas that have seen at least 1 to at least 2.5 inches of rainfall. Now it's actually led to a flood warning going out for these three counties until midnight because of not just the rain that they saw today, rain that still continues to fall, moderate to heavy rainfall. And if we widen the view out a little bit, more moisture developing to the south and lifting to the north, just adding more rain chances, including the rain that's on top of the station right now. And looking back toward Joplin, where it's also raining, we have 71 in Joplin, a southeast breeze at 12, occasionally gusting to 22, and that humidity plenty high enough at 81%. Most of us upper 60s to lower 70s at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. It's going to be just a very, very slow drop off in temperatures for the rest of the evening, with the cloud cover and the rain chances holding steady up until about 2 o'clock in the morning. They'll be in the upper 60s, then eventually down to 66 for overnight lows. So this is yet another round of rain that will continue to track, while any better thunderstorms stay well to the south. At the surface, we have our very weak stationary front finally falling apart. So the only other front we have to keep an eye on is the cold front to the north and west. That one, however, won't come into play until next Tuesday and Wednesday. So our rain chances for the next few days is being driven by the stubborn upper level low, but eventually this will start to lift back to the north tomorrow. And then this upper ridge building in from the east, that will keep us warm for the weekend and start to eat away at some of our rain chances, at least temporarily. Let's look at the rest of the evening. The rain that's out there will continue with more moisture lifting in from south to north, so we'll keep scattered rain and a couple of thunderstorms in the forecast, with maybe a break in the action during the overnight and before the afternoon. Make that the morning drive gets underway. And then as we head toward the afternoon, we'll have additional scattered rain and thunderstorms again. This time, however, we should go a little warmer tomorrow. 66 in the morning, 72 by noon, afternoon highs around 77. Some scattered rain and storms Thursday evening, maybe a break Friday morning to start things out. Then we'll watch for some more scattered storms Friday afternoon. So still just within the next 2 days, another 1/2 inch to maybe 2.5 inches of rain. But there is better news on the way. 80 on Friday, despite mostly cloudy skies and some scattered storms. Saturday, that's when things start to finally get drier. We can't rule out some rain chances in the morning, but then I think the afternoon it's going to trend drier with partly sunny skies, and we'll use that to get highs back near 80. 79 on Sunday with maybe a random storm or two. Same goes for Monday. Both days highs around 80. Unfortunately, Dow, no severe weather chances in the short term, but next Tuesday and Wednesday, those are days that we'll have to keep an eye on.
And I know you and the rest of the weather team will do just that for us.
Yes, we will.
Thanks, Nick. Still ahead, 3 of the last known survivors from one of our nation's worst race massacres testified before lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
Only at Roper Honda.
100 years ago, Tulsa, Oklahoma was the scene of one of the worst race massacres in U.S. history. Today, survivors testified before lawmakers on Capitol Hill discussing possible legal remedies and compensation decades later. Reporter Danya Bacchus has details.
3 of the last known survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre testified before a House subcommittee.
The night of the massacre, I was awakened by my family.
107-year-old Viola Fletcher, known as Mother Fletcher, was just 6 when a white mob destroyed Tulsa's prosperous Greenwood neighborhood and robbed her of her future.
I still see black men being shot, black bodies lying in the street. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot.
Her brother, 100-year-old Hugh Van Ellis, still has vivid memories of how the violence affected their family.
We live with it every day. We aren't just black and white pictures. We are flesh and blood.
And Leslie Benningfield Randall, now 106, says she was too young to truly comprehend what happened then.
My community was beautiful and was filled with happy and successful black people, but they came and they destroyed everything.
The House subcommittee will consider legal remedies to atone for the damage done 100 years ago when a white mob attacked the all-black community. More than 1,000 homes and businesses were looted and burned to the ground, including the Dreamland Theater, owned by my great-great-grandparents. Historians believe up to 300 people were killed.
By the grace of God, I am still here. I have survived to tell this story.
The 3 survivors are plaintiffs in a lawsuit against the city and county of Tulsa, seeking reparations for the massacre. They've waited 100 years for this moment, the chance to demand justice for their suffering. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
A final check of the forecast next. Take time now to honor a local veteran. Michael Stapleton served in the U.S. Army in 1970 and 71. Pittsburgh native was stationed in Vietnam, and we salute Specialist Michael Stapleton, a 4-state hero. Here's a look at what's coming up on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. A new legacy project for the 10-year Joplin tornado anniversary will honor people's ongoing strength and determination. Also, a look at just how extensive long-term COVID can be. And a new report ranks the best vacation destinations. That and much more tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Nick Kelly, more rain chances on the way.
Yeah, working through as we speak, and a couple more days of at least decent rain chances. 77 tomorrow, 80 on Friday. Thankfully, we back off on the rain chances a bit this weekend. Nothing severe expected, and we'll keep highs near 80 for the weekend as well.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. In the meantime, let's take care of ourselves and each other.